Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to finish one of the pages that I broke in the Break the Blank Page series. I only have two left, here they are, and this is the one I'm going to work on today. This page was broken by using gloss gel medium from the Crafter's Workshop through a stencil. That gives us that honeycomb pattern. I believe that stencil is chicken wire reversed. It acts as a resist, so what's underneath it is what shows through. In this case, it was white, so that's why you see it. Now, I like having some white space on the page, and as much as I like the colors here, I am going to add some contrast by taking white gesso. You can use white acrylic paint if you wish, and just break up some of this color. I need to add layers, I need to add interest, I need to add contrast to this. I'm going to keep basically the color scheme. This is an analogous color scheme. They are close to each other on the color wheel, and I'm basically going to be adding a lot of pattern, texture, and visual interest using black and white. I'm using my finger now. I'm using the makeup sponge and I'm going over it. I want it fairly opaque. So I'm adding more to get that opaqueness. If you use white acrylic paint, it probably would be more opaque right off the bat. But I always have gesso right handy, so it's kind of my go-to. I'm just breaking it up. I don't have an idea of what focal image I'm going to use. I haven't decided yet. I just thought, I just need to do a little bit more. So sometimes that broken page, you just got to do more and continue to break it. Now I grabbed the chicken wire reverse stencil and my Prussian blue, which is a darker shade than what's in there, and I'm adding some pattern. This now we see it in white where the gel medium is and it's texturized, and in the blue. Now I wanted to deepen the turquoise color, so I grabbed some paint and I'm just rubbing that where it was and adding a few spots even where I've put white. This just gives variation to your page and it deepens the color. Breaking it up. I'm quite happy with how this is turning out. I grabbed this stamp from Stamperia and I want to add some interest to the background. And I'm using black archival ink and just putting it in various places on the background. I am not getting a perfect stamp, as you can see, because, well, there's texture on the page and I tend not to be a perfect stamper. But this is just adding little bits of interest that are going to peek through the page, and that's what is really going to make your page. So I'm using several of the little stamps. This is one of my favorite collections. This one is absolutely the favorite. It's circular. So I chose this one because it seems to match the chicken wire reverse stencil. You want the different components to read with each other on the page. Going off the page is a good practice. I'm even overlapping some of the stamping that I'm doing. I'm going right on top of stamping that I've already done. Now I'm going to do some more stenciling, but I'm using a DIY stencil. This is drywall tape. Now the secret to doing good on drywall tape is to get very little paint on your makeup sponge. You saw I patted it off and press very lightly. and you're getting that very fine stencil. Often I want a very fine scale stencil or stamp, and I definitely will be reusing this one. I'm using black because I want to build in contrast. I'm going over the white, I'm going over my stamping. And now I'm going to edge my page with black. I'm holding the makeup sponge with the black paint. But you know me, I'll probably revisit this later. At this stage, I absolutely love my background. And I decided I'm going to add some gold. And I'm thinking I want to rub it gently with the Ranger blending tool over top of the gel medium that I put through the chicken wire reverse stencil when I broke the page. So I'm rubbing it off. I'm not getting it just on the top. Some of it's smearing, but I'm really liking the look of the yellow against that blue and turquoise. And the reason it looks good and it's popping is yellow is across the color wheel from those colors. So they're going to work well together. And since I like the look, I grab my pot of thinned gold paint. I'm grabbing my fan brush and I'm going to splatter the whole page because I want to add more of that gold on there. This made a very ethereal looking background. So I went through my napkins and I'm liking these birds. I think it's chirping birds. This butterfly would go and these angels would go, especially with that ethereal feeling. And I'm grabbed this, it's the center part of a mandala stencil that I cut out. I'm going to make that part of the focal point as well. I'm going to give my napkin focal something to sit on. It's going to ground it. So I showed you the options. This one's called Chirping Birds, and I'm cutting it out. And even though this napkin it's Christmas, it's got holly berries and snow in it. When I've cut out this element, it doesn't read Christmas at all. So look at your napkins and don't just limit them to what's there, because if you cut out some of those elements, you can use them. With the napkins, whether you cut it out first or whether you always will need to take off those extra 2 plies. So if I put the bird there, he's looking a little small, so I'm going to cut out the other bird. There's 2 birds in each quadrant, and I'm auditioning it. Now that bird, the way it's looking and the size, I don't really like it. That's not bad if I put them closer together. So I'm thinking, maybe just 1 bird. Since I don't want the dark background to show, I'm gluing it down with matte medium or fluid matte medium onto copy paper. And once that's dry, I'm going to cut it out closer. Get rid of all the excess napkin. All I want is the focal image. The copy paper prevents the background from showing through. It also stabilizes the napkin. I'm thinking, okay, I could put it in the middle. I could put it this way. Before you glue anything down, play with different possibilities in the composition. If you like it, go with it. So I'm going to stencil the platform, what I'm going to perch the bird on. I'm using black acrylic paint and the center part of a mandala stencil. This one has very wide openings, which I want because I want this to be fairly heavy. So I'm liking the 1 bird, but I'm thinking again, I need something more. It doesn't seem to have enough. So I go back to the napkin and I find the same bird, but looking the other way. I take off the extra plies, glue it down onto the paper, and then cut it out. Then I go through my sentiments. Now this one is from a sentiment pack that I'm developing, because as you know, most of the sentiments in my sentiment packs that are available at Ninny's Napkins are ones that I've actually used. I create them while I'm doing my art. They come out of my creative process. And this says wings to fly, determination to soar. And I'm using two different sizes of that sentiment. And all the digital sentiments can be resized. You can blow them up, you can shrink them. So they can fit any project, any size project you're doing. And you can mix and match the sizes like I've done here. I'm using gel medium to glue the birds down. Making sure everything is dry underneath. You don't want to smear that black paint. Loving the look. I want the focal image to stand out, and so either I need to make what's right behind it lighter or darker. I'm going to use white or I'm going to use black or a dark color. Here I've chosen black because there's white right behind the bird, so I need that to stand out. And then I'm doing the shading around the edge as well. And then I do it around the sentiment. The sentiment and the focal image are all part of the focal image, the image. I'm adding some color to the birds. I'm just popping that yellow because the yellow really works well with the gold, which is why I chose these birds, because it just really worked with the gold. Drawing it using my Posca pen in black to outline the sentiment. And then I'm just adding a few lines and details on the bird using the Posca pen. I also dotted the eyes with the white of the Posca pen. Then I decide to make it a little brighter, and I'm just adding white paint. I'm not really highlighting with the white, but I am dabbing it on, and this is making the bird look like it's painted more, and it's now standing out a little bit more from the background. I'm just brightening it. So I, added the wash of color on the chest of the bird, and now I'm adding white to brighten it so it pops out of the napkin. If you don't follow me on Instagram, go to Instagram and follow me at Creative Katie. The stencils that I've used and the stamps, as well as the napkin, are all available at Ninny's Napkins. I will list them in my affiliate link down below, and there's a coupon code if you're interested as well. So remember, you can take a napkin that's even seasonal, and when you cut it away from all the background, it can be used for multiple things. Now, I love this napkin, and I'm very likely going to use it with the holly and the snow and make a winter or a Christmas card. If you like this video, tell your creative friends, subscribe to my channel, click on the bell, and make sure you select to be notified of upcoming videos. So we started this page, we stenciled with gel medium through the chicken wire reverse stencil. And then I had colorized it. I'll put a link to that video in the iCards. I added white space back in to break up the color and to add interest. I'm using an analogous color scheme. That means the colors are next to each other on the color wheel. The teal, the purple, the blue. I build up the depth of colors that were there. Now that I am looking at it, this is what I want. So you can always build it up. I did some stamping and some more stenciling. I reused that chicken wire reverse stencil, and I used that Stamperia stamp set. I used drywall tape as a stencil to get some very small scale, high contrast stenciling. I splattered the whole page with gold, which is a complementary color to the background colors, and that's why it pops. I added contrast with black by stenciling part of a mandala stencil to ground my focal image from the napkins. And I chose the birds because it had that gold. I adjusted the color of the birds by adding yellow to the chest and white, and I shaded around it so it stood out. I added a sentiment to the page, and I edged the page. I hope you like this as much as I do. I hope you give something like this a try, some technique. Please enjoy the close-ups. Until next time, go get creative.